I'm going to open the meeting for the Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency. This is our Thursday, April 5th monthly meeting. As always, at the beginning of every meeting, we have the privilege of the floor. Does anyone want to address JCIDA at this time?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I'm Mark Garbon. I'm interning in Syracuse. Drove up this morning, 3 inches of snow. Notice there's no snow up here.
You're welcome.
For many years, I represented the Onondaga County IDA, and so I want to thank you for your service here and know what it takes to do it, and the amount of time it takes. And I saw some of your minutes and was impressed by the things that you do. I represent Opal Development, the owner of the property that's leased to Valentine Stores. And they have some concern about the First Student Bus Project, particularly the traffic that will be generated at the entrances. They understand that there's some congestion and that this would be exacerbating it. And they also question whether or not the use is consistent with the covenants, and ask you to both take a look at the traffic that will be generated and whether or not this is really a permitted use under the covenants.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Just to follow up on Mr. Arbon, my name is Bryson Spell. I'm associated with Curtin Law Firm in Asnovia. I'm here as co-counsel with Jane Kublin on behalf of Onondaga Development LLC. We also do have some concerns with regards to the First Student Project. And some of those concerns were expressed in a letter that was sent out yesterday to Mr. Donald Abraham. And I'm not sure if that has been received.
Yes, it's been distributed. Yep.
Okay. And just briefly then, just covering some of those points, a lot of those concerns come with the use and permitted uses that are allowed by the covenants. Those covenants are fairly strictly limited to certain uses, those kind of including a bus garage in those uses. And some of the other concerns also with regards to possible amendments to those covenants, I think we'd like to have the board take into consideration precedent that was set by a previous amendment, and also by those covenants themselves, that they would require approval of all those that would be affected by those covenants. Also, raised in that letter was some concern with regards to the application before the town planning board with regards to a spec build, and with regards to the actual building in the spec build, it appears that there was an incomplete application. The application was based upon largely based upon previous applications submitted to the planning board in 2015. We deem that improper, and the teams that can find that would be subject to an Article 78. And for those reasons, we just want to raise that concern to the IDA.
Anyone else? Thank you. We received our minutes from the last meeting. Is there any additions and or corrections?
No, sir. I'll make a motion to accept as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Treasurer's report?
Okay, I'll keep it brief here. Again, try to compare things as they changed from the prior month. For unrestricted funds, or excuse me, yeah, unrestricted cash is up about 30,000. On the total balance, it's 31,000 increase. Total assets are up about 20,000 from prior month. Total, unrestricted liabilities are up 73,000. Total current liabilities are up 74. That's page 7 of your packet. Page 8 is just our income statement. Probably not going to end well as we get to the end of the fiscal year, but so we started out with an aggressive budget about 500,000 higher than we actually achieved in 2017. 107,000 per month is our break-even target. You can see we're 16,000 on kind of on an average. I'm kind of projecting maybe at best case we're going to be about 950,000 total achieved revenue by the end of the fiscal year. which will put us 350 to 400,000 short on the revenue side. And that's not, I don't have a crystal ball, but that's kind of where things seem to lie right now. As we go down to the operational expense side, same break-even budget, so it was 107,000 per month was break-even. We started out 480,000 higher on our expense side as well from 2017. A little bit better here. We are underspending, if you will, our linear burn rate of cash here. We are spending, we can achieve up to 115,000 per month and achieve the target. It looks like we're gonna be quite a bit below that. So when I kind of put the two together, it's around a $300,000 loss. 275 to 300,000 is kind of where I get to. Again, things can change between now and then, but that's where the state of the state is today.
Big project.
Yeah, I mean, most of it's the pilot leaseback fees. There's other positive things hidden in here, but they're just not big enough to overcome the pilot leaseback. So that's page 10 of our packet, or excuse me, page 8 of our packet. We'll skip 10. We'll move to page packet 11, our balance sheet. Cash equivalents are up 24K. Most of it's cash, 74,000 more than prior month. Total current assets up 31,000. Total assets up 20,000. Current liabilities are up 74,000. We can skip page 12. We'll move to page 20 of our packet to kind of get to our loans, receivables, and delinquencies. The Metro paper, I don't think we really have any more update than we discussed at the loan review committee hearing. Okay. Revolving loan fund, you can see we have 4 delinquent accounts. Benchmark is new. I think that's probably just a timing issue, I'm guessing.
That was a timing
Okay.
issue.
I was hoping as such.
Payment came in right around the first.
We didn't need a new big loan to all of a sudden go somewhere. We have Carthage Specialty Paper, which we discussed ad nauseum at our loan review committee. We'll discuss that later on these agendas. Wright Brothers is under arrangements. You know, unfortunately, those two combined are pushing 400K. Looking at our receivables in total, where we are with delinquent payments, we're about 77,000 in arrears for collecting of those payments. That is only 5.9% of our total receivables. When we add back in the principal portions of Carthage Specialty Paper and Wright Brothers, we're about 36.5% of our total receivables. And Wright Brothers is under arrangements. It will likely not be a total loss. It may come out pretty even, but again, no crystal ball.
And it may take a little while.
Yeah, so no crystal ball there, but I'm putting it in the we're not gonna collect it basket right yet. The micro enterprise, we only have Big Brothers, which has been referred to for collection.
We actually received judgment on that.
Okay.
But we haven't received any money.
Okay, what is the judgment, the full 20 or?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay, so that's very good.
NCA is lead on this, and
Good.
I don't know what's happening right now.
All right, and I do want to point out Lyric and Taste of Design that have been removed from the delinquency status, so they're back into good standing. So realistically, between the principal and where we discussed in the loan review with Carthage Specialty Paper, we're kind of at risk of about 290,000-ish. We've allowed 240 in our budget, so we're kind of close. I had added in Vic Brothers, so that takes 20 away, so I guess we're about 270 at risk right now.
Hopefully we'll get some of it.
That is the full report. Make a motion to accept it as presented, and I'm sure there'll be discussion.
Second. Motion and a second.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Did you reference the word nauseism?
Ad nauseum.
Ad nauseum.
Ad nauseum. I have a cold, I'm sorry.
Oh.
We did discuss it ad nauseum.
On the motion, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries, thank you. Rob, you're still up.
Yeah, thanks. So we had a pretty active loan review committee hearing, we had Scrub Hub, Mr. Rick's Bakery, Wright Brothers, Cartage Specialty Paper, and then Joe brought up some other items which are on today's agenda. So we'll reserve those, Carthage, Harbor Hotel, and then lastly Glue. I'll give a quick update on that. So Scrub Hub, we had a packet in front of us which was just slightly, the one criteria that didn't fit our micro enterprise loan was normally we look for 10% equity. They were offering 8.5, but the bank made up the balance. So IDA was still capped at the 40. Everything else was fine. Emily came and represented this very well. Looks like a very sound business. They want to expand, get into a little bit more of online marketing, which they believe will increase their sales and employment. They're adding employment basically for the online sales. And so our loan review committee approved this, and we thought this was a great project. You want me to kind of stop at each one so you can go through
Yes,
the
yeah,
okay,
no,
that's what I
we're
thought.
doing one by one.
Okay.
So this is a resolution authorizing an $18,656 loan for 5 years at 5%. I have resolution number 0405-2018-01, resolution for authorizing a micro enterprise loan to the Scrub Hub LLC.
I'll move the resolution, Dave.
Thank you. Second. Any discussion?
What's,
All in favor?
references
I'm sorry.
personal guarantee of Bonnie, is that the mother?
She's the owner.
She's the owner.
Yeah, Emily was the daughter, I believe, Lon?
The daughter.
Yeah,
Okay.
she represented the business.
On the resolution, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Ricks.
So the next one we had was Paul and Fran Albury came in from Mr. Rick's Bakery. Again, they were looking for a $20,000 loan, mainly for working capital. They expressed some difficulties with a road closure and loss of some of their main business with the Valentine store sale to, I forget who bought them, but they were supplying a lot of baked goods to the Valentine stores. And they've done a lot to rebuild their clientele. A couple things to point out, it sort of didn't fit revolving loan and it didn't fit micro enterprise, but we put it into micro enterprise because of the dollar value, $20,000. And the reason it didn't fit micro enterprise is normally it's reserved to employment of 4 and last included with the owner being the 5th. This has 8 full-time employees, 4 part-time employees, and they plan on adding 5. So we thought this was a great move. Paul discussed the plans very well. It's 5%, 5-year term, $20,000. They have a current loan balance of $19,000, never been delinquent. That loan matures in 2020 of May. Good cash flow. We will be getting a new personal guarantee of the owners, and we have a second position on the mortgage of the property. I presume that's from prior loan. Yeah. We saw this as also a very good opportunity to help out a local small business owner with a micro enterprise loan, and they are looking to create more jobs. So that's really the summation of that one.
Okay, I have resolution number 0405-2018-02, a resolution for authorizing a micro enterprise loan to Mr. Rick's Bakery Incorporated. I'd entertain a motion in a second.
Make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? On the resolution, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Thank you.
The next one we had was for Wright Brothers. I really can't say more than what's described here. I think Joe and Lyle probably can describe this sort of legal requirement more so than I can. I mean, essentially, they want to extend out the principal payment, push out the maturity date of the balloon payment for 5 years. And as we indicated in our minutes, there are potential buyers. It looks like the the original loan value will be made whole, it's just awaiting, it's just a timing issue. So it's again a situation of pushing out principal, interest only, and then collecting the balloon payment later. And if, I would kind of give the technical questions to Lyle or Joe to describe, because I've never heard of the word along before.
It's just simply a modification of
Okay,
the note.
it sounds a heck of a lot more technical than it is.
Yeah.
That's something the lawyers screamed up.
Yeah. It sounds more impressive than
It
modification.
sounds French maybe or something, I'm not really sure, but, so that was that particular one.
Resolution number 0405, 2018-03, excuse me. Resolution for authorizing a modification to the revolving loan fund loan to Wright Brothers LLC. I'd entertain a motion, a second on this resolution.
Make a motion. I'll second.
Questions? Anyone have questions for?
I'm just a little perplexed because Dank is, I see Lyle's comment, just because they're the lead agency, and they've already written their obligation off.
No, this
No.
is Wright Brothers.
This is Wright Brothers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The
Yeah,
water,
that-
the trust is
yeah.
lead on this end.
I'm sorry, all right, I was down in the wrong
Yeah,
paragraph.
Wright
All
Brothers.
Yep, there we go, sorry about that.
This is just
All right.
changing the term
Right, yeah.
for when we actually get paid.
So my question still is, where did the property, for what it was assessed for and what that was financed for, just how many years ago? 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
12, I think.
Has it
yeah,
been that
was,
long? My God.
Actually, it was before Charmaine died.
Okay. So what devalued that property as far as a saleable property from during the course of this?
I'm not sure anything devalued it. It was probably overvalued to begin with, would be my guess. And then the plans that they had in place at the time just never happened. They planned on doing a lot of training there, leasing space, and they have leased some space. It's not an empty building.
The last time we did this, Don explained that at the time they purchased it, they had a large contract to provide ambulance
Fort Drum.
service to Fort
Right.
Drum that
Yeah.
they lost. So that was going to be their revenue stream
Right.
to carry the
Right.
debt service, so.
Which really has nothing to do with the convention center, but it has to do with the corporation.
Right.
I mean, it's
But
probably
it was
less of a bad real estate
but it
deal
was
as
a
a
use-
bad business plan.
When they expanded, when they're going historically, when they expanded their business, they needed more space because they had, at that time, over 100 people. And it was pretty abruptly, kind of out of the blue, that they lost that contract. So when they came to us and they actually bought that building, they were using it as their facility along with some, ancillary things to go with it. And just, the business model just kind of
They just had to recover.
Flip.
React,
Yeah.
essentially.
So, it's been
So
a
we
tough-
really,
a
we
tough
accepted
go
the
for 'em.
higher value, the finance institutions accepted the higher value of that building based
At the
on
time of the original.
companies of
Based on the
revenue
use.
stream to afford it. It wasn't
Yeah.
really based on on a realistic,
It's probably based on the
Market
business
value.
plan that he had at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all right.
Any other questions?
Nope.
On the resolution, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution carries. Thank you. Any other unfinished business before we move along? New business, Carthage Specialty Paperboard. Dave, I'm going to turn this one right to you.
We have Ted Cortez and Michael Lambert here, part of the management team that's looking to be part of the buyout team when the company comes out of bankruptcy. I think maybe we can start, maybe since there'll be some discussion, maybe go around, have the board members introduce themselves, but I think maybe have them give kind of an overview of where the company's at now, the bankruptcy process and such. At one point when it's appropriate, we may need to go into executive session to discuss any, financial details of the corporation. So,
Okay.
Want to introduce yourself, starting with Ed? Ed, introduce.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out why my computer keeps bumping me out. Ed Waldroff, yeah, I try and represent a little bit of agriculture on the committee.
Rob Aliaso,
Don Demondo.
Joan Jennings.
Kent Burtle.
Dave Converse.
I'm Greg Gardner. I'm not actually a member of this board. I'm an LDC board member.
Dave's okay.
Paul Warnick.
Joe Russell.
Lisa Majero.
Lyle Eaton.
We also had Bill Johnson,
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead, Dave.
Okay, so Ted, you want to kind of give an overview of kind of where things are at with the company now and what the kind of the general overview of the plans and?
Sure. So, just to be clear, Michael and I are working at Carthage Specialty Paper Board, but we've applied for a loan under a new entity that would essentially acquire the assets of Carthage Specialty Paper Board out of bankruptcy. So, just so that we kind of lay the background and groundwork for, what brings us here today. There was a series of events that occurred over a number of years, quite frankly, that culminated in the company needing to find new financing. This is last fall. And at that point, the current owners of the business, along with our senior lender, forwarded or advanced the company some additional money, but as a requirement of the bank advancing that money, they said that because Equity did not have additional funds behind it, they required the company to seek a buyer. So Michael and I, amongst others, at the company, informed the board about how to do this. The board approved the hiring of an investment banker. We marketed the company and continue to market the company. We received a number of proposals to buy the company, and in early February, we had a proposal that was acceptable to the bank, to the board, and there would be a new owner of Carthage. This entity intended to buy the assets of Carthage, and they did a lien search, and as did we at the same time. That lien search uncovered a couple liens from the PBGC that involved Carthage's former sister company, Climax. They really, one did not pertain at all to Carthage, but a lien was still filed. Another partially pertained to Carthage. But when those liens were filed and they were discovered in the lien search, the buyer of the business withdrew their consideration. And really put the company in a very difficult position. Management, myself, Michael, Don Schnackle, who is our CFO and who's not here today, said that, we saw a very viable company here, and we also saw a dedicated group of people that have really worked there, their entire life at the company in multiple generations in the paper industry. Very loyal, and really through no fault of their own, were kind of faced with a situation that could have resulted, and frankly may still result in the liquidation or the wind down of the company. So we decided when the other buyer withdrew consideration that we would make an attempt to buy the assets of Carthage. As we discussed that, and because of the nature of the PBGC liens against Carthage, the lender, our senior lender, said, really before their lien was primed by the PBGC lien, the company needed to enter bankruptcy to protect really the bank's interest. So we filed bankruptcy, Chapter 11 bankruptcy at the end of February. We idled the facility for 3 weeks. And we entered Chapter 11. We intend to go through the 363 process. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the 363 process, but essentially is an auction process where any bidder can come in to buy the assets of the company out of bankruptcy. The process really starts with a stalking horse bidder approaching the court with probably the senior lender's approval and buy-in. The court approves the initial stalking horse bidder, and that starts an auction process that typically lasts 30 to 60 days. The management team will be one of those bidders. We hope to be one of those bidders. And that's what's prompting us, in our visit discussion here today. Our proposal requires, financing. That's what we're seeking. And we'd like to, buy the assets of Carthage out of bankruptcy and run the business, maintain the business, maintain the employment, retain the workforce, and, continue to service and supply our customers, for many, many months and years. That is our plan. I'm happy to, go into, any level of detail that you would like to hear about, the current finances of the business, the current performance of the business. I will say this. We have not lost a customer. Some of their orders did go elsewhere because they knew that we were idle for 3 weeks. But coming off of those 3 weeks, we were able to retain all our employees. And our customers have been very loyal. So we have a very strong backlog. We just entered our 3rd week of production, and we have a 3-week backlog, which is actually high for the industry. So the next 3 weeks of production are sold out and spoken for already. Our markets are strong, our customers are good, our employees are dedicated and loyal. The business with a properly structured balance sheet and liquidity is very viable. And that's what we seek, and that's what we see, and that's why we're seeking the financing, to buy the assets of the business out of bankruptcy.
The stalking horse bidder process, is that a case like, if a bunch of bids come in, do they take the best one to become the stalking horse, or is it the first one in the door they take? How does that?
Well, the stalking horse is just as it's described. It's one bidder. That begins the auction process. So somebody can come in, it could be the management proposal, it may not be the management proposal. But somebody comes in, the court approves this party as a stalking horse bidder, and then notifies, it's public, it's in the federal court system, notifies the public essentially, and then anybody can come in and bid and be considered, in that auction process. So they can overbid, and, ultimately, the court decides who the winning bidder is.
Does that become the reserve, or do they look at the entirety of all of the other bids in a lot of other barometers versus just value?
It's my understanding is that there are multiple elements. So one consideration is certainly economics, right? That's an important consideration. A couple others. One is, somebody may buy the assets, but may not want to operate the business in its current location with the current workforce. So that would be a consideration. The impact on the community, the impact on employees. Another is the management team. Who's running the business? Are they qualified? Are they experienced? Do they know what they're doing? What's their background? So there's multiple considerations. The bank has significant influence. since really, all the assets are their collateral. So they have significant influence, and the court will certainly, look to the lenders to seek their input and frankly approval on a final decision. But multiple factors would be weighed with the bids.
Does that bid process include a complete package? And then within that complete package, breakouts of like certain manufacturing lines of equipment? Is it all encompassing, or is it a combination of being all encompassing, and at the end of the day, really you don't know if, until that's decided, whether or not you may thought you bought 3 or 4 pieces of equipment, but at the end of the day, there's an override for the whole package versus the individual pieces? How does that?
The bidding process is for all the assets of
As a whole.
specialty paper.
As a whole.
Right, it's
Okay.
not piecemeal.
Okay.
So it's the customer list, it's the equipment, it's the land and building.
Management team, all of that?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
I mean, the strength of the company, regardless of who ends up owning it, as Ted mentioned, the fact that they hadn't lost any customers, when you saw the package we sent out to you, they've got a number of unique specialty products that really positions them well within the market, domestically and internationally in many ways, so.
Like very high market shares
Yeah.
too, like
Right.
70-ish.
Yeah. And to summarize, I mean, what they're looking for is a $250,000 loan application that it assumed, that it would be a commitment that we wouldn't close on until after they come out of bankruptcy, assuming they come out, the owners. And that would be used to finance upgrades to the machine to increase its production output and quality. So, and then you'd have other financing that would be kind of financing the actual operations.
I think the way we discussed it in our loan review committee, so I can recap it in my own mind, it's a commitment that we would extend a loan of $250, provided they're the successful bidder.
Yeah, yep.
So
And-
that's the simple
yeah,
way of
and-
saying
yeah,
it?
Yep, and if for some reason, they come out, the owners, if we still continue about to do that, if something significantly changed, then we would go back and revisit that, but assuming all would remain as expected, right? So I don't know if anybody had any specific questions on the finances that we need to discuss in executive
Yeah, I have a
session?
couple of questions on looking at the pro forma stabilized EBITDA.
Yeah, should we go into executive session at this
Okay,
point?
yeah, maybe.
I'm gonna look to council for,
If we're gonna talk about personal financials, we should do an
is that
executive
what
session.
we're,
Personal or
is that your
business?
question?
Well, business,
Okay.
the business
Same thing?
financials, yeah,
Okay.
same thing.
I move we enter executive session
I'll
and
second.
allow staff and the applicant, would the applicant be present?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay, on a motion to go into executive session, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you.
TV?
Or water or something.
No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, Marshall, you gonna shut off the video, please?
Marshall, you saying or not? You don't have to.
I'll